The telling of history is consequential, and recognition is consequential also, so I am deeply honored and appreciative to receive the American Book Award today. I'm also very honored to share it with the other recipients today who have presented such raw and real engagements with social life. Not the least, it's also quite an honor to share the award with previous recipients, some of the people who really shaped my intellectual development. Toni Morrison, Edward Said, Gary Snyder, Bell Hooks, Isabel Allende, Amiri Baraka. I want to thank, first of all, Waldo Martin, my co-author. We spent many years together working on this book. I want to thank my friends and family who are in the audience and my many comrades and colleagues who helped make this book a reality along the way. There are too many to thank individually, but you know who you are, and I never could have dreamed of getting here without you, so thank you. The recognition is nice, but writing a history of the Black Panther Party, let alone the 12 years that it took, but the sacrifices and the commitments and the costs were quite significant. I won't go into those today, but I didn't spend those years and I didn't pay those costs for the accolades. So in the few minutes that I have here today, I want to say a few words about why the history of the Black Panther Party is consequential today. It wasn't just that the federal government, working with the Chicago police, assassinated Fred Hampton, the 21-year-old Illinois Panther leader, in his bed. The repression and the COINTELPRO, the federal program of repression that targeted the Black Panther Party, was very much about the repression of the political possibility that the party represented. It was not just about destroying the organization, it was about destroying the political possibility that it represented. I'm going to read you a quote from J. Edgar Hoover. "One of our primary aims in counterintelligence as it concerns the Black Panther Party is to keep this group isolated from the moderate black and white community which may support it. This is most emphatically pointed out in their Breakfast for Children program, where they are actively soliciting and receiving support from uninformed whites and moderate blacks. You state," and this is a letter to the San Francisco special agent in charge, "you state that the Bureau under the counterintelligence program should not attack programs of community interest such as the Black Panther Party Breakfast for Children. You state that this is because many prominent humanitarians, both white and black, are interested in the program, as well as churches which are actively supporting it. You have obviously missed the point. The program was a program aimed at dividing the party from its supporters and at vilifying it. Look at the actions of William O'Neill, one of the highest placed members of the staff of the FBI on the payroll of the federal government working in Chicago, who helped orchestrate and organize the assassination of Mark Clark Fred Hampton. And what was he publishing in the Black Panther newspaper? He was publishing articles calling on local Panther chapters to torture other members. This was what the FBI was paying. These were the ideas that the FBI was paying to have circulate, that the Black Panther Party members should torture other members. Why? Because this is about criminalization. It's about criminalization. So why does the history of the Black Panther Party matter today? Because if we let Hoover get the last word and accept the common wisdom that the Black Panther Party was not a political organization but a criminal one, then those who stand up to unjust authority everywhere are criminals and terrorists. Why does the Black Panther Party history matter today? In 1966, there was a schism and a split in black freedom struggle. The younger generation stepped forward to try to figure out new ways of challenging and fighting for freedom. And if you look at the history of the civil rights movement during its heyday, and you look at organizations like CORE that so successfully dismantled formal racial segregation in the United States and ended Jim Crow, they never made inroads into poverty. So you read the histories of CORE in the North, and years of campaigns and the best organizers and the best strategy and nonviolent civil disobedience and claims for full incorporation in American democracy. And at the end of these long drawn-out campaigns, you get a job, one job, integrating a formerly completely white Woolworths or another store. There's many similar examples. Civil rights and nonviolent civil disobedience never made inroads into unemployment, never made inroads into the middle class, never made inroads into the fact that police departments were all white, into the fact that there was very little electoral representation, that the political machines were exclusionary, that elite higher education was exclusionary. And so in 1966, young blacks around the country tried to figure out, how do we build a movement that can address that? So the history of the Black Panther Party is important because it's crucial. Because you can't sit in against poverty. You can't sit in against poverty. Michael Brown is not an exception. And I don't know if people saw the news in the last couple days, but the fact that the St. Louis Dispatch published a whole series of false quotations which suggested that the experts supported the interpretation of the forensic evidence that in fact Michael Brown had been struggling aggressively with the police officer who killed him, that those quotations were in fact distorted fabrications according to those very forensic experts who were supposedly quoted. That's not exceptional. Why do I say it's not exceptional? It's not exceptional because today in the United States, young black men are 21 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than young white men. It's not exceptional because there are more black people under carceral control in the United States today than were slaves at the height of slavery in 1860. It's not exceptional because while the median family income among whites in the United States is a little bit over $100,000, the median family income among blacks is less than $5,000. The expansion, the vast expansion, the tripling of the prison system in recent decades, the reverse of gains made in higher education, look at the University of California system by blacks, the great expansion of inequality in this country show that these trends, and not only for blacks, but inequality and incarceration for American people generally, are not getting better but have gotten much worse in recent decades. So the history of the Black Panther Party is crucial today because you cannot also sit in against Jim Crow. You cannot sit in against the new Jim Crow, I should say. You can sit in against Jim Crow. The civil rights movement dismantled Jim Crow using nonviolent direct civil disobedience against formal racial subordination, racial exclusion and subordination. But you can't sit in against the mass incarceration of blacks. It doesn't work. We need other politics. And so the history of the Black Panther Party is crucial, and we cannot afford that it be criminalized. From 1968 to 1970, for 3 years, the Black Panther Party was at the center of black freedom struggle. When Fred Hampton was killed in Chicago, it wasn't just radicals that turned out. It was the NAACP, it was the Urban League, it was the moderate black political organizations that turned out. Because while the Black Panther Party had a politics that they might not support, the party also had a politics that they saw as necessary to their interests. They could not afford for the Black Panther Party to be killed, to be beaten, to be repressed, while there was not access to higher education, while there was not a significant black middle class, while there was continued exclusion from mainstream politics. Over the course of those 3 years, the Black Panther Party had chapters in 70 cities in the country with dozens, in some cases hundreds, in a few cases thousands of young members who dedicated their lives to revolution. People don't remember, but the premier of China, Zhou Enlai, 71, and the Chinese government sponsored a festival on National Day in China in support of the Black Panther Party with thousands of dancers and jugglers and performers in the streets, a big state dinner, and signs that said, "Down with Yankee imperialism." Algeria, a center for international mobilizing and resistance to colonialism and other forms of revolutionary mobilization, did not have an embassy for the United States in the late 1960s and 69 and to 70. But they had an embassy and an embassy building for the Black Panther Party. Students for a Democratic Society, the largest anti-war organization that mobilized a good part of the draft resistance, declared the Panthers vanguard of their common struggle. But often today, the party is criminalized, and commentators strip it of its political practice. You can't sit in against economic inequality or the new Jim Crow, but we cannot let J. Edgar Hoover get the last word, criminalizing freedom struggle and erasing the possibility it represents. Democracy is made from below, and it is never given from above. So if we are to have any chance of challenging the growing social inequalities that face our children, we need to learn from the sweet successes and also the bitter failures of the people who laid their lives on the line for our freedom. So that is why I wrote this book. Thank you.